I brought it up last week. The Britney Spears documentary.
Man.
Oh my God.
I finally got into it this week.
Framing Britney. It opens up about her conservatorship with her father, but also what a lot of you may have read on Twitter and really what the conversation stems from.
The Free Britney movement.
Is not only the way in which the media completely destroyed her and the misogyny that lived within the media realm.
Still lives.
You have Justin Timberlake and how he capitalized. And what's crazy, I just also, real quick, I want to share y'all the story. Literally watching this and seeing who Justin was now as an adult, I do want y'all to know, I tore off all of his posters off my wall when he got with Britney because I was heartbroken. And a bit of me hated Britney because I was like, that is my man. That also was the first and last white man I ever really liked. As far as, I don't know why I thought he was going to take my virginity and everything. You know how we grow up thinking the fucking teeny bop way.
I felt that way about Kobe Bryant. I used to tell my mother in 6th grade, I'm going to marry him. She's like, well, he's already got, I said, I don't care. He could take Brandy to prom. Where's the prom? I need to be in the parking lot. Mind you, I'm like 12. So I'm like, where's the prom? I want to go.
And so rewatching this and really seeing how he really capitalized off of what their breakup was and how they demonized her.
Yeah.
It was always her fault. It was, even how they sexualized her. It was just really...
See, but you and I we have different opinions about this. We do. Because I watched this and I really, after a while, right, we have to consider the timing and all of that. I lived in LA for 10 years. When you don't want to be seen, you figure out how to not be seen. You're not taking your meetings at the Beverly Hills Hotel. You're not going to brunch at Chateau Marmont. You're not, you know what I'm saying? You're not in your car with no tints. Not one. Not a single tint on the car, driving down Sunset really slowly. Like, there's ways around a lot of the exposure that happened.
Okay.
And I won't put the blame on her, because obviously what we see in this doc too is that she was surrounded by people that really wanted to control what she was doing and were less concerned about her well-being. But I also think that there was some truth to what one of the photographers that was interviewed said about there was a sense of codependency. Like, she needed us and that attention and that validation the same way that we needed her to get that money for those pictures. And so I think it's as damaging as it can be, it's also addictive. That amount of attention is addictive. Right. And you have to consider too, this is during a time where there's no social media.
Right.
So the only access that she can give her fans outside of just her shows is paparazzi taking pictures of her. So what might have started out as something very innocent on her part ended up being really detrimental to her, but also she really was seeking that attention in the very beginning. And that's a hard train to stop once the witch is leaving.
We've seen Cardi go through it.
Yeah.
Like, it was everything, like, all eyes on me. And then when it became all eyes on me, it's like, you also can't push those eyes off you just when you want. It doesn't work that way. Right.
And I think, even down to when she shaved her head, it's like, sis could have done that in the house. You know what I'm saying? She went out to a salon, to a barber shop that had windows, accessible windows. Like, a lot of the stuff, unfortunately, by the time anybody was actually considering how devastating it was for her, that whole process, she was attention seeking and basically saying fuck you to all the paparazzi and the cameras and the media and all that. But it was so self-destructive. It's like,
it was.
We couldn't as fans or anybody else really reach her in that space. The Justin Timberlake apology, until I hear from Janet, until I hear from Miss Jackson,
Janet ain't even acknowledging him. Can you go back to the apology? Because I want to read his apology. He said, "I've seen the messages, tags, comments, and concerns, and I want to respond. I am deeply sorry for the times in my life where my actions contributed to the problem, where I spoke out of turn or did not speak up for what was right. I understand that I fell short in these moments and in many others and benefited from a system that condones misogyny and racism. I specifically want to apologize to Britney Spears and Janet Jackson, both individually, because I care and respect for these, and I care for and respect these women, and I know I failed. I also feel compelled to respond in part because everyone involved deserves better, and most importantly, because this is a larger conversation that I wholeheartedly want to be a part of and grow from." I want to read, I saw someone tweet what his apology should have read.
Okay.
He really just should have said, because the part that fucks this up is that there's still blame on the industry more than it is on him. He should have just said, I recognize I played a significant role in how the media pursued and portrayed Britney. I misrepresented our relationship for my own personal gain and used our private issues to advance my career at her expense. I built my solo career in taking down two prominent women in my industry, and for that, I'm deeply sorry. There was a lot of fucking fluff in there, and I don't feel like he still acknowledged that he profited specifically in his own personal advances with the downfall of these two women. And when you look into, of course, now we're in social media, they're playing back the videos. He has songs where he replayed the Oops Super Bowl in kind of making it up. He didn't stick up for Janet. Janet was interviewed by Oprah saying, you don't treat friends the way you do. So the fact that this apology came when it has come almost lends it to for us knowing you didn't apologize when you should have. And you could tell that because he made skits off of this Super Bowl thing. He made skits off of Britney Spears. He went on the radio and was like, yeah, she said she's a virgin, but nah, I took that. I was in those pants. Literally, he said that on Star and Buck Wild.
Right.
And so me being an adult now and looking at this from an adult lens, it is very, 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 very disgusting in the way in which they demonized Bro, Janet wasn't able to go to fucking award shows for years. She had an album that came out that Viacom went and put on their network because, like, and it's so crazy because, again, we grew up idolizing a lot of these people and falling and wanting these men to be our partners. Right. I do, though. Can we give a little special homage to Britney? Britney, bitch.
I would like to but I would like to say that this is why I struggle with the idea of cancel culture, because we don't leave any room for growth or redemption in moments like this, right? Sometimes
you coming for me?
No, I'm not. I'm not at all, and I'm not defending Justin either. But I do think that, number one, in the time period that he was participating in that way, he was a fucking kid, and so it's not to excuse the behavior, but it's also for him to look back on it now at how shitty he was and how shitty he handled that whole situation, I think is important. I don't think we can excuse what happened with Janet because it happened on a much grander way. For sure. The Britney, they had a relationship. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of men in the wake of relationships ending don't handle things well, and unfortunately, you know, it sucked the way that he went on the radio. I listened, I cringed this morning when I watched, I went and rewatched that part where he was like, well, you know, she said she's a virgin, but did you get in those pants, Justin? Yeah, I did. And it's like,
disgusting.
Bro, you loved her at some point. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, that's kind of tacky. So, you know, and I don't think at the time anyone thought that was great. But also,
do you think that men even feel like times have changed? And I don't want to get off of this, but do you see that even, and we talked about this maybe in episode 1, The Game, for whatever reason, went on Clubhouse and named all the women that he slept with.
No,
and again, I think we talked about this too. Bow Wow, his next album is him talking about the relationships he's had with women in the industry. This is still like a fucking thing.
Have y'all learned any other skills
in
life other than just talking about women? Anyway, that's a whole other topic.
That is.
But I do want to just acknowledge the fact that we have to do better at granting people grace. So as much as I will acknowledge Justin Timberlake's apology, I also have to acknowledge the fact that there were a lot of men around him that were older, that were experienced, that were in the industry, that did not check him either. And so the industry continues to this day to covet and protect and empower and sweep under the rug nasty shit and situations where men have abused women. And so I still want to hold the industry accountable to some degree because it still is responsible for the allowance of that behavior.
Right.
Because no one ever gets checked. To the point where now, 20 years later, now the state of the industry is that we can't accept apologies. We don't want to hear it now. It's too late. Honestly, it's never too late to apologize. It's not.